Now, 3 weeks ago, I took delivery of one of the highly anticipated laptops here for 2022. It's an ultra portable from Dell. Yes, it's the XPS 13 Plus 9310 with its radical redesign, with its sleek looks, minimalist look, which I absolutely love, brand new keyboard, and it also has a 3.5K OLED display that is simply stunning. Throw in 12th gen P-Series processor for performance here, you're gonna get it, and integrated Iris Xe graphics. But how is the battery life? How are the thermals in this really ultra portable package? Stay tuned, we're gonna find out here today in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my full review of the Dell XPS 13 Plus here for 2022. Coming up. Now, before we get to the device, I want to let everybody know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, that I'm not being paid by Dell, I'm not being sponsored by Dell. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Dell is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit was purchased with my own money. This is not a review unit from Dell. And here's what's new with the XPS 13 Plus. It's powered by the 12th gen Intel processor. It's got a redesigned keyboard, which I actually do like. We'll talk about that in a little bit. A new haptic touchpad, which is excellent. That's also another thing we're going to touch upon. Capacitive touch bar, which some people may not like. We'll talk about that as well. Faster LPDDR5 RAM, faster PCIe Gen 4 storage, which is upgradable, and improved 720p IR webcam. And you can get this in two new colorways, Platinum and Graphite. I have the Platinum and it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I went over the pricing in the unboxing and first look review, and pricing remained the same. It starts at $1371.02. Certainly not cheap, but you are getting a premium flagship device, which is really ultra portable, easy to take with you. Now, I paid close to $2,000 when it was all said and done. I got the Core i7 1260p that has 12 cores, as you know, 4 performance cores, 8 efficiency cores, and I also got 32 gigabytes of that LPDDR5 RAM, which is non-upgradable, and I also got 512 gigabytes of that PCIe Gen 4 storage. For those interested, I'll drop a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. Now, I already did my unboxing and first look review. For those that didn't see it, I'll leave a link in the description below. I highly encourage you to check it out. We may cover things there that we won't cover in this review, so check it out. Now, the design is simply stunning. I have the Platinum colorway here, and it is very portable. Now, I have the OLED option, of course, and that comes in at 2.77 pounds or 1.26 kilograms. So it's easy to take with you on the go, throw it in your bag. You can go to a coffee shop, take it on an airplane. You won't feel it too much in your bag. So that's one of the benefits of having such a thin and light ultra portable as you have with the XPS 13 Plus. And they also give you a 60-watt USB-C power adapter. It's really compact, so the whole package together doesn't weigh very much. Very light in your bag, as I mentioned, very portable to take with you on the go. And here it is next to its predecessor, the Dell XPS 13 9310 from last year. And as you can see, very, very similar footprint, almost identical. But of course, the color is different. And of course, the radically changed keyboard is different. And of course, you get physical keys for the function row on the 9310. But one thing these both share are the same 3.5K OLED display that is absolutely gorgeous. Both are really excellent. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And there's no doubt about it, this design is pretty stunning. Now, some people do not like the Dell logo there. They'd like to see the XPS logo like you get on the bottom. That might be something to consider later on. So if Dell, if you're listening, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe rebrand it to its own line, the XPS line, and not put any Dell branding. I don't know. That's just a thought. But again, simply stunning design. This is probably one of the best looking laptops, if not the best looking laptop on the market here in 2022. And as I mentioned earlier, you can get this in a platinum color or a graphite color, and I think they both look excellent. Now, I took a look at the graphite back at CES when Dell did their showcase in New York City. I got some hands-on time with it. Absolutely gorgeous, but I think it'll definitely show a little bit more fingerprints than the platinum. And the platinum is gorgeous in its own right, and I really do like it. And it's shown very, very little fingerprints. It's very easy to keep clean, so that's been great. Okay, let's talk about the performance. And as I mentioned earlier, this is running the Core i7 1260p, a 12th gen processor, 28 watts with 12 cores. That's 4 performance cores, 8 efficiency cores. And as you can see from these numbers, a very good performer indeed. A nice year-over-year increase over the 11th gen processor from last year, especially when it comes to multi-core performance. We're seeing about double the speeds that we were seeing last year. And that's a nice marketed improvement that we like to see. Now, of course, this is going to generate more heat. We'll talk about the efficiency. We'll talk more about the thermals in just a moment. But as far as the sheer raw powers, it looks really good. Now, I got the Cinebench R23 scores here, and that's a more sustained workload that will take into account more thermal throttling and stuff like that, because it is a longer test to run. And I did notice a little bit of thermal throttling, but for the most part, it maintained good clock speeds, thus resulting in good performance. And when you compare it to some of its competition, you definitely see an increase in terms of the single core performance. And of course, where you're going to see a nice increase is the multi-core, as I mentioned. And that's where it beats out the MacBook Pro 13 with that M2. And it also is very impressive in terms of its performance over last year's 9310. So you're seeing a nice year-to-year increase in terms of that performance, and it is very impressive. Now, I want to make it clear, this is not a gaming laptop. There are better options out there at this price point. But having said that, if you lower some of the settings, you can get some playable frame rates thanks to the integrated Iris Xe graphics, which have 96 executional units that this has. But of course, if you want to add an external GPU, that is an option, since it does have 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports that give you that versatility. And I like the fact that you can control the thermal mode in the My Dell settings, and you can do the cool, the optimize, the quiet, and the ultra performance. And when I ran the Prime 95 stress test to see how this does under maximum load, it would get as hot as 100 degrees Celsius. So Dell lets this ramp up all the way up to 100 degrees Celsius in that terms of the core temperature, and maintain pretty good clock speeds with some thermal throttling, but not much. So it does run hot, and you will notice it on the surface temperatures as you see here. Now, in terms of the fan noise under heavy load, in the ultra performance mode, they will spin up, and you will notice the fans getting as about 45, 46 decibels, which is definitely noticeable. But when using everyday tasks in the balance mode, they hardly come on, and it's actually pretty quiet. And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger. Now, the hinges are pretty sturdy, pretty stiff, so you won't get a lot of screen wobble when you're typing, and that's pretty good, of course. And of course, when you open that lid, you're going to notice that new redesigned keyboard. Now, at first, I had a lot of trepidation with this keyboard. I didn't know if I was going to like it. Well, the opposite has occurred. This is an excellent keyboard. Now, it does look like that MacBook 12-inch keyboard with the very shallow key travel we saw a few years back. That's not the case with this. The looks can be deceiving. The key travel was very good, the tactility was excellent, and it was a pleasure to type on for extended periods of time. I absolutely love this new redesigned keyboard, and I love the look of it as well with the edge-to-edge look on that keyboard. I absolutely love it. And it has a backlight so you can get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. One thing to note, the keys light up white here. The letters actually light up white. So with the platinum keys, it's sometimes hard to differentiate and see the keys. And the biggest controversy to me has been the removal of a physical function row. You get a capacitive row or touch bar instead, and it worked well. It's pretty responsive. Now, just so you know, it doesn't flicker in real life. That's the PWM shown on the camera here. So in real life, it's static. It looks fine. Now, the one thing I would like to see is an ability to turn it off. Say when you're watching a movie in a dark room, you don't want to have that lit up. So that's one thing I'd like to see changed here so far, but really has not been an issue. Now, I asked Dell, what was the reasoning that they went with a capacitive row instead of the physical function row, and they told me that was to enable a better thermal design here. And the other big decision made was the fact they went with a haptic touchpad. And as far as a Windows laptop is concerned, this is probably the best one I've used so far. The haptic engine worked perfectly. The responsiveness when it comes to scrolling and gestures worked flawlessly. This is probably the best implementation and very close, I would say, to a MacBook Pro's touchpad, which I think are the best in the business. This is on par with that. It's right up there with it. Okay, I went over the ports in my unboxing video, but for those that didn't see it, there are two Thunderbolt 4 ports here, one on each side, and that's it. There's no headphone jack, there's no USB-A, there's no HDMI. Now, they do give you a headphone to USB-C adapter since it doesn't have that headphone jack, and you also get a USB-A to USB-C adapter as well. But again, not much in terms of ports with this minimalist design. They also removed the microSD card reader that you got last year on the 9310. But the good news is these are full-function Thunderbolt 4 ports. That means not only do they do data charge display out, but you can connect to multiple 4K monitors, Thunderbolt docks, and a whole host of other peripherals. And the fact that you can do multiple 4K monitors, or even 8K monitors, is much better than the ability to put multiple monitors on the new MacBook Air M2, something you can't do. Now, I opened this laptop up in my unboxing and first look review, so I'm not going to go over that again, but what you need to know as far as user upgradability is the RAM is soldered into the motherboard. That means as the user, you cannot upgrade it later on. Now, you can configure this with up to 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM, and that's exactly what I did when I purchased this unit. But the good news is the SSD is user upgradable, and the one that's included here, the 512 gigabyte PCIe Gen 4, had excellent reads and writes, as you can see by these fast numbers. Nice. Now, this is using killer Wi-Fi 6 along with a Bluetooth 5.2 combo card that is soldered into the motherboard, so if you want to swap it out later on, you don't have that option. But the good news is this killer Wi-Fi 6 has worked really well, as has the Bluetooth 5.2. It's worked flawlessly. Now, I have the OLED display. That's the option that I really wanted to go with because I'm a big proponent of OLED displays. You get the super deep blacks, the really vibrant colors, the really high contrast. They just seem to be the best displays out there, in my opinion. Better than mini LEDs, better than QLED, better than IPS. So I'm definitely happy with this choice. And of course, judging by these numbers, you're getting everything that you'd want. You'd get the excellent color accuracy with a 0.87. That's really good. That's below the 2 we like to see. And it also has excellent coverage of the color gamut, 100% sRGB, 96% Adobe RGB, 98% of the DCI-P3 wide color gamut, and 93% NTSC. So if you're that content creator that wants to be able to do color grading, Photoshop, Lightroom, and of course video editing on the go, this is a panel you can rely on, that's for sure. Now, this is an Infinity Edge display with the really small bezels, and it is also a bright display. According to Dell, this can get as bright as 400 nits, and that's exactly what I measured. Good for both indoor and outdoor use. Although it is slightly glossy, you will notice some glare and reflections depending on your lighting conditions. This is also a touch display that was super responsive. I love having the ability to navigate through the OS with my finger when I want to. That's a nice convenience feature for sure. It also is an HDR display. Watching high dynamic range content, as you see here right now on your screen, has been excellent. Watching movies in Netflix, Amazon, YouTube has been spectacular on this portable powerhouse. Now, if you don't want to go with the OLED, there are two excellent IPS choices as well. A 13.4-inch Full HD Plus with an anti-glare coating that can get as bright as 500 nits, or a 13.4 UHD Plus that is also a touch display, and it has an anti-reflect coating. It's also glossy, in other words, and it is 500 nits in terms of the brightness. Both are going to be brighter than the OLED, but the OLED is pretty special with its better color accuracy and its excellent coverage of the color gamut. But the IPS options will definitely give you better battery life, something to keep in mind. And speaking of the battery, this has a 55 watt-hour battery, and my initial test that I showed in my first look review got 7 hours and 14 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. Not great, that's for sure. But I did tweak a few settings and ran the test again. I lowered the screen brightness from 150 nits down to 100, and I turned off the Bluetooth, I turned off the backlighting on the keyboard, and I put it in the power efficiency mode, and I got 8 hours and 40 minutes. And that's a little bit better, but in real-world mixed usage, don't expect any more than 6 to 7 hours at most. Now, again, that's going to depend on what you're doing with this laptop, so your mileage may vary. But all in all, this is a 6 to 7 hour device at most. And the good news is they give you that 60-watt power adapter. It's pretty compact. It's USB-C, and it takes a little less than an hour and a half for a full charge. That's pretty good. Now, once again, Dell goes with a 720p webcam, 30 frames per second here. It's IR. You can log in with face recognition, work flawlessly with Windows Hello. Totally good on that. The power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner as well. That's worked well. Setup was easy in that regard. Worked well with Windows Hello, so no complaints on either front. No shutter switch, of course, this time around. Of course, we wanted to see that. We don't get that. But I think this is a definite improvement over the 9310 from last year, which I'll show you in a moment. This is actually pretty good. I think this is an improved 720p webcam. Now, having said that, I would have liked to have seen a 1080p webcam, but we don't get that here. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. So this is the camera from the 9310 from last year's XPS 13. Also 720p, also IR camera. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality compared to the updated version of the 9320 that you find in the XPS 13 Plus? And here they are side by side. I think the clarity, the brightness, the sharpness is a little bit better on the 2022 version here with the XPS 13 Plus over the XPS 13 from last year. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, this has dual stereo speakers, aka quad speakers. They are 2 tweeters, 2 woofers, and it's Realtek audio for a total of 4 watts of power. Now, the volume was good, the mids were good, and there was some bass. For a thin and light ultra portable, the sound is actually pretty good. Let's give it a listen. Okay, people, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Dell XPS 13 Plus 9320 here in 2022? And I gotta say, this is one stunning looking laptop. It is elegant, minimalist design that I absolutely love. I love its edge-to-edge keyboard. I love its 3.5K OLED touch display option, which I have here, and I love it. I like its 16:10 aspect ratio. I like the responsive new haptic touchpad that they went with, on par of that of a MacBook Pro. It's that good. I like the fact that you can upgrade the SSD. And speaking of the SSD, you not only get PCIe Gen 4, which is a lot faster, you also get faster RAM. That's LPDDR5. That's a big improvement. I like the improved speakers, the improved webcam with the array mics. This is definitely much better in terms of video conferencing. No USB-A port, no audio jack, no webcam shutter, no microSD card slot, and its so-so battery life are some of the negatives that I found using this for the past 3 weeks. And it does run hot, and you will notice the fan noise in the ultra performance mode, but when running it in the optimized mode, it was stayed pretty quiet and cool. If you can live without some of those ports and the so-so battery life, the performance gains here are pretty impressive, as well as that gorgeous 3.5 OLED display. I'm going to give this a score of 88%, making the XPS 13 Plus 9320 here in 2022 definitely worth your money. So what do you think about this bad boy, the Dell XPS 13 Plus, the 9320? I'm absolutely loving it, and using it for the past 3 weeks has really opened my eyes on just how not only beautiful it is, but it's functional as well. Now, of course, there are some caveats here. With this size, with this processor, you're going to generate the heat. They let it go as far as 100 degrees Celsius internally, so you're definitely going to feel it on your lap, although it doesn't get overly hot to the point you can't touch it. And you're going to get so-so battery life. Not the most efficient chip so far we've seen through 2022, but it will give you so-so battery life. Now, I did that second battery test and I got 8 hours and 40 minutes on the continuous web surfing test with 100 nits, not 150 nits. So you're definitely going to get a little bit more battery life, of course, if you lower the screen brightness, turn off some of the radios, and you think you get the picture here. But you're not going to get great battery life. Now, here, having said that, you can look at the IPS versions of this, the Full HD Plus or the UHD Plus, should get a little bit better battery life on it. I don't have them to test right now, but I do have this OLED. And speaking of the OLED, it is absolutely gorgeous. 3.5K OLED display, the deep blacks, the vibrant colors, the really high contrast, that you can't go wrong with this display. It's not only accurate, but it also has great coverage of the color gamut. Is this something you want to pick up, or is this something that just has too many compromises in terms of the ports, the battery life, that you just don't want to go with that? Let me know in the comment section below. But either way, for me, for my personal taste, I absolutely love it, and I have no hesitation recommending it for those that are interested in the XPS 13 Plus. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.